All right, so I've got Coach Glenn Clark with us, the Canada coach, the Firewolves coach, and so many more things. Thanks for taking the time, Coach.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So you got the Firewolves jacket on. I see the Canada shirt. I
Yeah.
had the privilege of streaming the World, so I didn't get to watch a lot of it. Now, the Worlds, you have a lot of experience there. You said you have 5 golds.
Yes.
That's amazing. So how many as a player?
One is a player in '03, the original, that was the first time they had the World Indoors. And then I was an assistant coach in 11 and 15 with Ed Como, Derek Keenan, Paul Day, and then head coach in 19 and 24.
So definitely a very experienced coach you've been around. So what is it like to coach against those guys that you coach with throughout like the worlds and I mean this the community of box lacrosse that growing up through it's such a small community. How is that to get to coach against those guys that you've played with and for? I mean something you've been doing forever, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's funny. You transition pretty quickly into that, the here and now. I mean, you're so focused on a goal when you're together with the Team Canada experience, and then when you get into whether it's professional or whatever level you're coaching against your friends and peers, it's all about what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, you don't the friendship doesn't change, and you're still friends after the game and before the game, but during the moment, it's about your group and how you're going to have success against the opponent. So, yeah, we can compartmentalize pretty well.
I'm assuming you started playing as a young man like most men in Canada. So how old were you the first time you played like organized box lacrosse?
I think I was 9, maybe 10 when I started. A friend of mine that I played hockey with asked me if I would be interested, and and that's really how it started. I tried it the one summer. I was playing soccer at the same time, and then my mom said you have to choose. You can't keep doing both. And then I eventually chose lacrosse.
Obviously, thankfully for those of us as Firewolf fans, we're very happy you made that decision back then. So, I mean, you play a minors setup, and that's basically from the time you're youth all the way up until you're eligible for juniors.
Yeah, so I played. I grew up in Pickering, Ontario. So I played in an organization that doesn't really exist anymore. I played in Ajax, and now it is West Durham. So that's where I grew up and played all my lacrosse, and then junior B in Scarborough for 4 years, and then 1 year of junior A in Whitby.
So the junior B team, they how did that end up? Like most people don't know. I'm kind of familiar with it from playing hockey, but the junior B, were you drafted there? Was it a local team? Did you have to travel or?
No, it's quite a story for me. Um, I didn't have anything. I wasn't invited. I wasn't drafted. I'm gonna have to change location. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good. All right, so you were telling me about your junior B experience. How'd that work out?
Well, nobody invited me. Nobody had me invited to a camp. I wasn't going anywhere, and one of my brother's friends, just happened to be over at our house for a barbecue, and he said, "Oh, I got to leave," and everyone's like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I got to try it with the junior B team." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Do you think I could go?" He's like, "Sure, I guess. I don't know." So I ran down the basement, grabbed all my stuff, and showed up at the camp. And this is before the digital age, pen and paper. And I showed up. They said, "What's your name? You're not on the list. You can't go out there." And I said, "Well, are you sure I just, maybe can't come out and try out?" And sort of talked my way into it, and ended up making the team. So that's how I got into junior lacrosse. I thought my career was over at 16, and sort of talked my way into a tryout, and that was how that worked.
Oh, that's amazing. So you talk your way into the tryout. Obviously, you make the team. How did you end up playing for the junior A team?
Just put my time in. I actually, from there, I went and tried out for the junior A's in Whitby, and I got cut 3 years in a row, actually, from junior A. And then in my fourth year, I didn't try out. And as fate would have it, we had an affiliation with them. and I got called up for the end of the season in the playoffs and showed well, and then played there my 5th year.
So you got your 5th year in there right before it's over, and then did you play senior box?
Yeah, I did. So actually, it's kind of funny how quickly things change and evolve. So you know, I wasn't on the team for 4 years, the junior A team, and then in my 1 year that I played junior A, I was a junior A All Star. I got called up to Brooklyn, won a Man Cup as a junior, and got drafted back in the day. So, oh, hold on, it's probably because it's switching to my car for. Are we okay now? So that last year, I was called, made the junior All Star, got called up to Brooklyn, won a Man Cup, and then was drafted to the old NLL, the 4 team one that was Brantford, Whitby, Guelph, and Buffalo. So that last 1 year was quite a bit of change.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you went up junior A, got called up, yeah, Man Cup, and then I mean, seems like you're winning, all along the way though. So as a young man, that's got to be what's that like just going through those couple of years and that change? I mean, going from playing with the oldest guy as a young man at 21 years old to now you're playing against like legends of the sport that you've watched as you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean it was very cool back then because the Brooklyn was coming off quite a streak, and guys I'd watched and kind of idolized like Derek Keenan and Gil Newendike, Johnny Fusco, Eric Peroni, all those old Terry Bullen, all those Brooklyn guys, and really quickly you're on the floor with them, playing with them, and it's a really strange and quick transition because you go from watching them win Man Cups and thinking, wow, I'm 100 miles away from playing at this level, and then you get a phone call and you're on the floor with them. So it's pretty cool, right? And then I ended up playing 10 years in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what was that speed like as a young man? Like you said, you go from idolizing it. Like how would you describe the difference in speed as you go up from levels? Because I know what from our perspective, we film it,
Mhm.
kids is the easiest to film, and then you kind of work your way up through the levels. Like when we hit worlds, we had just done a youth championship. It was rough. And then
Yeah,
when we go from the worlds where we've got like your 10th, 11th ranked teams to all of a sudden we're at Lax and I filming NLL guys in world caliber, like the Canadian gold medal guys. It's crazy how much faster it is. What was that like for you?
yeah, it was certainly the speed, but it was the man strength too, because you go from being a big, strong 5th year junior. Now you're man, and I remember the first practice I had. We were just doing a little 5-on-5 drill, and back then we played offense and defense, so I was on offense. And Terry Bullen, who has become a real good friend over the years, but obviously didn't know him well back then. He slid and hit me and probably knocked me about 6 feet. And I remember getting up, going, "Oh, that's man strength. That's the difference."
That's a good way to describe it. I like hearing that because that is a huge thing. So a lot of these guys they don't understand quite what that feels like, especially the if you get a guy that grew up like as a mechanic or a farmer or any one of those working trades, the yeah, that core strength is huge. So
Yeah.
you get up there. I mean, as far as the passing, how and like the ball speed and the IQ, was that? Did you notice a huge IQ difference, or was it more how fast it was?
No, both. I mean, it's the actual speed wasn't, like guys in junior are fast and quick and everything else. It had more to do with the nuances of the game and how quickly you process things, and they're just better positioned, more efficient. So the game moves faster just because guys understand where to be and when to be there. So it wasn't a case of they're faster, they're a little stronger in that because they're men, but it was just how the movement patterns and how well they created their own space. So it was all the nuances of the game that you're really learning in real time and learning. I mean, at that time too, with that one Brooklyn team, Gary and Paul Gate were on that team. So I'm playing as a junior with Gary and Paul Gate, Marichuk, Peter Park, and then all those Brooklyn legends that I mentioned prior. So I was quite a team and quite an indoctrination into that level of lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean that just trying to get caught up with the IQ and the athleticism because, like you said, so one of the things we talked to a young lady who started playing and she got to try out with Team USA, and she honestly said the at field what she noticed was the biggest thing. She was so much like more aware of what was happening. Like her anticipation level went up. So did you play field too, or were you just a box guy?
Never played a game of field. I was a hockey and a lacrosse guy, and in fact, I played junior hockey and junior lacrosse at the same time. And
Where were you playing junior hockey?
in my hometown, Pickering, and then I played 4 years of university hockey at the University of Toronto. So I was playing university hockey and senior lacrosse, and in fact pro lacrosse while I was playing university hockey as well. So I kept both going for a while, and then actually after I finished university, I played a couple of years of pro hockey. Played down in the East Coast Hockey League and
Where'd
pro
you where'd you play for the EC?
Louisville.
All right, because I'm in Glens Falls actually, so you know where the Adirondack teams all
Yeah,
were then.
yeah,
So yeah, that was me. I was a born and bred hockey guy. I had Melrose as a coach and Murkowski because we were fortunate enough to grow up in an area where they liked, so they stayed with their kids. That was more my thing.
yeah.
I just found out what box was when the Firewolves moved. The first
Really?
Firewolves game I've seen, that was the first box game I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I never played a game of field in my life. So I was just hockey and indoor guy, and which is for my age in Canada is pretty common, right? You play hockey in the winter and then box in the summer.
Yeah, see, and I had no idea what it was. And it's funny, as much time as I spent playing in Canada in the winter, I just figured we went to Massachusetts and played in the summer because it was closer, like we went to Boston. But now it makes more sense because everybody was playing box up there. It no, it's quite the culture shock for a lot of people in the US if you don't understand how that junior and senior program really works.
Yeah,
If you try to explain that to somebody like as we're getting these Firewolves fans, it's amazing, but some of them have no idea. And when you're talking about what the senior circuit is up there for lacrosse, especially, I mean the level of competitiveness. What I mean, yeah, it's just insane. So like, what? How would you equate the world speed to like the Firewolves and the NLL speed? Like, where do you feel that? I mean, obviously the NLL is the pinnacle. They say it's the pro league, it's the top of it. But like, what do you notice is it out there? Is it? It's obviously not the athleticism because every team has it. That IQ must really come in.
yeah. I mean, the game itself would look similar to a high NLL game. Our game versus the U.S. and the whole in particular, because you've got the best players in the world. Um, I think from a coaching perspective, the thing you notice is just the uptake and how fast they process information. So when you tell players, at the world stage, at the Team Canada stage, it 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 gets applied very quickly. So they can take information, and their feedback is world class. So you've got some of the best obviously players in the world, but you've got some of the best minds in the world as well. So it's a really cool sharing of information, and it's interesting to watch when you do something when something's drawn up on the bench, and then how quickly they can apply it to real time. So it's just it's like any sport, right? I mean, there's so many people that are skilled, and there's 10,000 people out there that could be as look as skilled as a pro guy while they're throwing the ball around the box. But the difference is how they apply it, and how quickly they process information when things are going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I like how that's put. I always say, like, especially with those world games, and I'll be interested to see how sixes pans out because, like, your top five guys from the U.S., Canada, Haudenosaunee are fairly comparable. I think you really notice the difference in that 6 through 20 is where, and I think sixes will be a really interesting showing. I think you're going to see. I don't know. It'll be interesting because I don't know how many of the Haudenosaunee guys are going to be athletic enough to, yeah, I don't know. That's a whole nother subject, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, with smaller rosters and you've got it compressed into a different format. You get a guy like Lyle Thompson with time and space. He's among the best in the world. So
With no goalie pads, basically, because they're
yeah,
playing with field goalie pads.
right. So yeah, those and we talk about Canada, U.S., Haudenosaunee, but you look at a team like Japan, for example, how well they represented in not only indoor but field and sixes. So there's nations that the sixes is going to, I think it's going to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, Japan was honestly my favorite team to watch that we streamed. They were so athletic, and it was
Yeah.
just, yeah, they didn't give you an inch. It was kind of like the first time I saw the Firewolves game, just like the way you guys play defense too, where it's constant pressure. You're not giving you a chance, and you have to make that fantastic play to win. You're not going to get the free shot.
Yeah, and we hosted a practice with Team Japan while we were at the Worlds, and I remember talking to Nick Chakowski actually during we did a little, we didn't do an exhibition, but we did some half court 5-on-5, and he's like, I mean, they have NLL speed. These guys move and swing the ball and play with pace. They just don't know all the nuances yet, but certainly from a skill speed standpoint, they're there.
Yeah, and that IQ I'm sure is going to gain. All right, so we got way off the rails, but anyway, so then you play junior seniors, you get into the NLL. Tell me a bit about your the original NLL career, and then kind of how you transitioned because you were part of it, and you had a long running. You were a Toronto Rock guy, right?
Yeah, I played most of my career in Toronto. Played with the original Ontario Raiders for 1 year that moved to Toronto, and then played my final year with Philly. But yeah, my career was Toronto. We won 5 championships while I was there. Went to 6, and won 5. So we had a really good run with obviously some really good and talented players, and just a group that understood how to win. So that was, it was obviously a magical run and a magical time, and certainly the best, because when I was winning those 5 NLL championships was when I won a gold with Team Canada as a player, and I also won 2-man cups in that window of time. So, you're you go through a run like that, and you don't think you're ever going to lose. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's got to be something. I mean, and so for especially the American guys, I don't think they really understand what that Man Cup is. So
Yeah.
my very first exposure to MSL really was I got to see the Six Nations Chiefs play at the ILA, and
Hmm.
essentially you have NLL All-Star teams up there in that league. The speed, pace, the IQ, like everything is just insane. It's really to that next level. It was funny. The guy we were with asked Lyle Thompson. He goes, "Hey, what do you think? How do you think the Chiefs would do against an NLL team?" And Lyle just kind of laughed. He was like, "What?" It was fun.
He would, yeah, and I mean, it was very similar to when I was winning the Man Cup as well. Though those Man Cup champions would fare very well uh, against the NLL champion, and I think even now it's been skewed a little further now. It seems that there's more player movement than there was when I was doing it. There was certainly some of that, but it's to an extreme now where it seems teams are just stacking up on all world talent to make a run at the Man Cup.
Yeah, it's insane when you look at the roster. Literally, I mean, uh you could take 3 NLL teams and you took like the top 3 guys off of their teams and you put them on a MSL roster, and then to see the other talent. So where we really focus is Senior B. That's our bread and butter. We do the Can-Am circuit, so we got
Hmm.
to cover a bunch of those Bandit guys. And then so for me to actually see like the level of talent there, you're like, oh, that's not that far of a step. I could imagine Senior B in Canada is also very competitive and just spread out with so much talent. I mean, so when you get down to the NLL, you're trying to consolidate what? I mean, the MSL's got 6 teams, and then you've got what is it?
WLA.
12 or WLA. Yeah, it's just insane the amount of talent. And then with uh, Dallas or the Texas team not being a team this year, how do
Hmm.
you felt that kind of affected you guys because you had built your team through the draft and through your moving pieces. You weren't a team that was looking for it. So going against these teams that brought it, I mean, that's obviously a lot stiffer competition. Must not have been fun for those coaches.
Yeah, I mean the dispersal draft of Panther City re- really really leveled the playing field, and made some of those teams that weren't as competitive. It thickened out the roster, so we're going to have quite a it's going to be a balanced year, more so. I mean, you've compressed talent and you've had a couple of drafts now in there, so there's going to be it's the margins are going to be tighter for victories now.
Like talking about your son. So getting to play your son's box lacrosse career. I'm assuming similar to yours, working his way up through. What was
Mhm.
that like? Did you coach him at all as a kid growing up through, or were you too busy winning gold and doing your thing? I mean, how does that
No,
play out?
no, I coached him all the way, from 3, 4 years old all the way up to his midget years, and then I tell this because people know this story. I cut him 3 years in a row from Beaches Junior A because I was coaching the Junior A team in the Beaches, and he was in our catchment. He was in our area, so I cut him and sent him to Junior B 3 years in a row. So he didn't make the Junior A team until his fourth year of junior, and then played his fourth and fifth year.
So that's awesome. You got to do that. That is one thing that people, as a parent and as a coach, how valuable is it to get some of your guys that are on the cusp that experience with Junior B? Because you take a guy who might be like your fifth guy. Is he going to gain as much playing Junior A or Junior B? I mean, I'm kind of wondering what your perspective as a parent versus as a coach for that.
I just think it's per individual. My son wasn't ready. He physically wasn't big enough, and he needed to kind of grow into that size. So it was good for him. And the one message I sent to him was, and told him when he went back is, um, you know, play an honest game, because there's things you can get away with in junior B that you won't get away with junior A and you won't get away with in pro. So if you really want your game to transfer to junior A, and then if you want to go beyond, because he's in the NLL now, but at 18 years old, he was not an NLL prospect. He was a long way away from even being considered. And even, his last year at junior, he was a solid player, but you wouldn't have looked at him and went, so he's been, from 20 to 21 to 22 to 23. I mean, um, he's really improved over that window of time, and he's put in the time, and he's played a way that he thought would translate to the next level, and he's had success. So I'm pretty proud of how he handled it.
Yeah, he had a great first game of the season as well. I mean, that's got to be cool. So that's one thing. So maybe you could explain this better to the American fans. All of our kids, they graduate high school, and basically, if they go play college, they're still playing. The junior program runs till 21. As a hockey player, going to compete with 21-year-old men as a 18-year-old is very difficult, and I don't think everybody really appreciates it in the U.S. I mean, and you just spoke to how formative those years were. I mean, what is your view of it now that you spend more time in the States, I guess?
Well, I mean, it was tough. I mean, when I went into junior as a 16-year-old, you're playing as 21-year-olds, and that is a massive gap. And I mentioned my son playing junior B. He wasn't ready physically for junior A, and I remember, back then there was more fighting in the league and junior. It was a lot like junior hockey. And same thing, I remember as a 16-year-old getting in a fight with a 21-year-old, because those kinds of things happened back then, and it didn't go well for the 16-year-old. So you grew up fast, and it was a bit of a battle of attrition. I mean, they say lacrosse is a tough game at the pro level, and it is in the box world, because you know you kind of got to survive those formative years through junior, and it's a tough game. So junior is a different. I mean, you think of that 16 to 21, that 5 year navigation. That's a massive difference. So yeah, you learn to protect yourself, and get out of some bad situations, and grow up pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, so you talked about guys that uh essentially not playing to your strengths as far as if you're not going to get away with it at the highest level, don't try it now because you will see all the time. You see these guys tearing up like they tear up whatever league they're in, and then they move up to that next level, and it's like whatever happened to that guy. That is no, that's a huge statement. I like how you said that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen 1,000 people, right? They look, you know, whether it's junior B or junior C lacrosse, and they're so skilled and they score 100 points, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's got 100." But they're not doing it in a way that's going to be able to do it junior A, and certainly not at pro. So that was when I talked about my son when he went back. I mean, that was the big message I said to him is you've got to play a game that, if your goal is to get to junior A and then even beyond, you're going to have to play a game that will translate and put you in a position to compete at that level. And I think he took that to heart and for the most part did.
Yeah, 100%. I've been a big fan watching him so far, but our 15-minute interview has already gone on for 30. So thank you so much, Coach. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a tremendous privilege getting to watch you, and I really appreciate the community you guys are building in Albany. It's been the marketing team there. They're doing a lot right. I tell you, those stands, you guys are really building something special. That was awesome the last game. I mean, that kind of
Good. I'm glad.
volume for an opener. Wow, that was fun.
Good. Well, I'm glad. That's what we want. And we just want to keep it growing. So, and this helps, right? So, you guys are part of that ecosystem and help building it. So I appreciate the support.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Coach. And we'll see you in a couple weeks because you're going to be on the road.
All right. Yeah. Take care, man. See
Thanks.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, so much for watching. We appreciate everybody's support. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. If maybe there was something you didn't know that you know now.